Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm looking for your opinion here. So you tell me what you think the right answer is. I think this is one of those. I'm not like firmly decided on it yet, so I'm going to give you my opinion, but it's a soft opinion. It's one of those cases where I don't know. I could go either way. So here's the basic thesis, and then we'll get into it. And it's one of those cases where you're going to kind of either want to think I'm being childish or be pissed. It could go either way. Or sorry, not pissed, make fun of. So I've had a number of people reach out to me saying, hey, do you know a way to hook me up with a New York City Comic-Con pass, like a guest pass? I would like to go to New York City Comic-Con. I am not a big name writer or artist. I'm a writer or an artist that works for Marvel. You see where this is going, but I'm not one of their biggest names. And so the company's not providing me a pass, the convention's not providing me with a pass, or in some cases like, hey, I am a junior editor, or I am a employee of, and not a contractor, but a full-time employee of Marvel Comics, but Marvel is not getting me a pass for New York City Comic-Con. Can you hook me up? Can you help me? Do you know anyone? And I see these requests, and I look at this and I'm like, first of all, the answer is no. I am not the magical convention pass fairy. I don't know. I do not have magical passes for the event. But another level, this is my thought process. You're Marvel. That's home turf. How do you not have like 10 billion passes to just hand out to your entire company? Does this not seem weird? Like, you know that Marvel is spending a decent amount of money at New York City Comic Con. They've got a booth. They're going to have signage. They're going to have promotional shit. Marvel's going to spend some good money on that convention. How are people who are working for Marvel, either as full-time employees or active writers and artists, not getting passes to that event? Does that not seem weird to you? I mean, passes to the event are not cheap. It's not like money's just laying around, but they're not expensive either. There's plenty of fans that are buying passes. I mean, what does a pass for New York City Comic Con go for? It's not an outrage. I mean, this is one of those stories that kind of makes you crazy, no matter how you view it. It's like, on one hand, if you're working for Marvel, you should just have plenty of money. Ideally you want a free pass because it makes sense for the company that's employing you to give you a free pass. On the other hand, you're making comics for the most recognizable, brand in the world right now for comics. How are you not able to afford a pass? Doesn't all of that seem wrong? If you want to get a pass for New York City Comic Con for all 4 days, it's $212.75. That is a weird number, by the way. Single day tickets are about $67.75. Also a weird number. I'm not saying that $212 is not insignificant money. If you're a YouTube channel, you need to work for like 8 months to make that kind of money. I'm just kidding, but but it is funny. People write me every now and then. It's like, you are a popular YouTuber. You are clearly making $500,000 a year off of YouTube. In which case I would say, do you think I'd be recording my videos from a car in Texas if I was making that much fucking money? The answer is no. Anyway, not from YouTube anyway. That's why people think I'm a dick. Anyway, I think there's a litmus test for the industry, which goes, if you can't afford $212 either as the employee or as the publisher for a pass to a convention where you and especially Marvel, again, Marvel is spending a crap load of money at New York City Comic Con. If you've ever done a booth inside of a convention, to do anything of reasonable scale and size, you're spending $100,000 floor, and then over that is merchandising and all the rest. It's expensive. I did some work with a startup. We did a booth at a couple conventions. That price was, I think, $40,000 for a tiny little 10 by 10 and some merchandising support. For what Marvel, they're doing six figures, easy, and then some. And generally, when you pay that kind of money, you get passes. And I'm speculating here, but certainly Marvel's getting passes, and certainly some people are getting passes. But my mind is struggling with the concept that you're working for Marvel, and Marvel is spending all this money at the conference, and yet you're still having to go try and figure out how to get a pass. All parts of that seem broken in my mind. It's broken for the company, it's broken for the employee, it's broken all over the place. How is that possibly the case? I was talking with a friend on this through email, and he's like, is this more or less pathetic than IDW requiring that their employees to buy their own laptops? And it's like, well, that is pathetic, certainly, but no, I think it's more pathetic if you are Marvel, located in New York. You practically masturbate about New York in every single comic you do about what an amazing city it is and the center of all that is holy. And you're spending, I mean, what is this? Speculate on how much is Marvel, Disney going to spend at the New York City Comic Con? I'm going to say $375,000. That's my guess. I may be way off. If I'm way off, though, I'm going to be way off under. And that's not counting any kind of VIP, kind of the hotels. I'm strictly talking convention fees, the booth, the signage, the other kind of stuff. I'm guessing they're spending at least that. It's an educated guess. All in for, flying people in, hotels, other signage. They're going to do some kind of special dinner. They're going to have a couple private cocktail events. That's going to be a $750,000 to $1 million expenditure at New York City Comic Con for Marvel. It is. So how is it that employees at Marvel, let alone the contractors, are fishing around trying to get tickets? Doesn't that seem profoundly broken to you? And the problem with this is, as we're talking about it, you're probably thinking to yourself, this is a good way to dunk on Marvel and how shitty they are as a company. And I mean, you're certainly welcome to do it. I mean, more power to you. I still find it weird that people stand up for corporations. I mean, maybe I was just raised as, Gen X. You're supposed to mistrust corporations, but here we are in a world where you're supposed to, defend giant multi-billion-dollar corporations to your last breath. That's strange. But anyway, where do we even go with this? Okay, so when I say some people have reached out for free tickets, I'm not talking one person. I'm not talking two people. In my email is 13 different individuals, a mix of writers, artists who are contractors, and full-time employees at Marvel Comics, a subsidiary of Disney, who are asking if I know how to get them hooked up with tickets. I'm going to this reveals nobody. But this was, I had to laugh a little bit. It's like, hey, I'm not shitting you. I was talking to Dan Slott, who said that I should try and see if you had a good hookup for tickets. Here's what makes my mind kind of, this is where I don't even know where to fucking begin with that. Is why, is this a practical joke? Okay, full disclosure, I have exchanged some emails with Dan Slott. It's been a while, though. I think it's been at least a year. Why is he pointing people to me to get tickets? This is where I'm neurotic. I'm trying to figure, I think that I have not talked to Dan Slott since the last New York City Comic Con. So generally speaking, when you're talking about the world of tech or biotech, there's this unwritten rule where if you don't talk to somebody within one convention cycle, so the rule always with us in tech was CES. if you go to CES and then you meet somebody there, and then a full year goes by and you do not talk to that person within the year, and then you don't meet up with them again at CES, and there's a word, I don't recall what it is, but there's something around the lines of if somebody that you met 1 year ago at CES, your next meeting with them is another year. I should explain, CES is called the Consumer Electronics Show. It's in Vegas in January, and it's the big tech show of the year. And if you haven't talked to them in 1 year, then you call that person like your CES buddy. And it's like somebody you have no interest in doing business with or doing really fucking anything with. But you see them at conventions, maybe you buy each other drinks. That's pretty much your relationship. But if you bypass the year, if you skip a year and you don't talk to them, they're dead to you. That's kind of the model. And I realize that the only people who care about what I'm saying right now is me. But I have not. I think it's been a full year and plus some that I've exchanged email with Dan Slott, and he's pointing people to me to get them tickets. What the fuck? I've just got to say. So anyway, I know that. By the way, I can already sense the comments and the video is gonna be like, Marvel, fuck Marvel. And I mean, sure, you're welcome to the reaction, but seriously, isn't this like one of those cases where you're like, what is going on? Like this is not right. Like this isn't one of those cases where you go, the comic industry is going to implode. Like, I mean, you can go on one of these bigger channels and they'll do a live stream like, Marvel, fuck Marvel. I get it. But to me, this is more of a head scratching moment of like, what is going on? You know, what do I even make of this? I realize this is a strange video for you, but to me, this is my world where you go online and people send you articles like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And like, I click on and half the time it's like, here's an article from Cosmic Book News, and here's an article from Bounding Into Comics. And I'm like, well, you know, those sites have an agenda, and the agenda is to fuck mainstream comics. That is their agenda. And I mean, look, everybody has a right to do whatever they do. Meanwhile, Bleeding Cool is like, you know, fuck journalism and common sense. So everybody's got their own angle. But, you know, when I see those articles, they're like, you know, here's another example of woke Marvel falling apart. And you read those, they're like, I mean, okay, so it's a comic book that is a #1 relaunch, and Captain America is distressed about America. And I'm like, I mean, sure, I guess you could say the comic industry is falling apart. You could also say that, you know, people can't figure out how to write a new Captain America story for the last 15 years. But, you know, sure, one of those two. I mean, whatever. To me, the bigger sides, when I get really concerned about the industry, it's when people at Marvel, the #1 comic company in the U.S., are emailing you, begging for free tickets to New York City Comic Con. Those are more alarming than hundreds of articles that talk about gay Deadpool or Star-Lord is bisexual, non-binary, whatever the fuck they're doing with him now, or like that stuff. I mean, sure. That to me just feels like, okay, a bunch of people are prioritizing whatever they're trying to do over like selling comics. Because, by the way, if you could figure out an angle, and some people have, I think Nas is selling plenty of music, being who he is. And so if he can do it, it's possible to make money off this shit. But, you know, the way they're doing it in comics, probably not. To me, the stuff that goes, all right, you should probably go see a doctor, is when people at the biggest comic company in the U.S. are asking for free tickets. That's the point where you're like, yeah, I think we're fucked up here. I think there's a problem. That's where I think there's a mess. And this is what I think separates me from other channels, which is, you know, for me, it's like, who are they making gay this week? I mean, sure, whatever. I mean, look, it's comics. If the political climate and social mood changes, then they can retcon that character straight again or whatever they're going to do. I mean, who knows? Look, I mean, I don't care what you believe about the comic companies. If Disney thought that the best financial move for them was to recast Black Panther as a pale, pasty white dude, they thought that was going to make them $2 billion. I don't give a shit. They'd be doing it tomorrow. Agree, disagree. I mean, sure. I mean, you can believe whatever you want, but I believe that they, despite all the comments about woke over broke and all that kind of stuff, these are companies that are immoral for money. The part that is alarming to me is when, you know, major corporations cannot afford to send people to, like, either they can't afford to send people to major comic conventions, or the people themselves can't afford to pay for major comic conventions. That's the one where you're like, all right, we're broken. Things are broken. That's to me the canary in the coal mine where the canary is dead. But, you know, your mileage may vary. I don't know. But what do you make of all this? Please downvote the video, whatever you got to do. Seriously, even if you are the most absolute aggressive, you know, Marvel can never do anything wrong, and there are definitely those people, and all the people who detract Marvel are secret Nazis. If that is you, fine. What do you make of this? This is weird, right? If you're downvoting this video right now, the only reason you're downvoting it is you believe I am full of shit and lying about all this. And if you do, that's your business. It does not impact my life at all. But if you're a hardcore Marvel fan, more than anyone else, shouldn't this concern you? Shouldn't it? It feels weird. Oh well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for listening.